want to introduce you to Jim Hammond. Jim is the Southwestern wine guy, and that's actually his website. He's been writing about wine for some time. Started, Jim, when? In 99?
Well, actually writing about it was probably when I started working for the Journal, Albuquerque Journal.
Yeah.
And a good friend of mine who was the editor there said, why don't you see if you could write something fun about wine? And I said, because that's what I like to do anyway. I said, okay. And she said, you're hired. So I was doing that for a couple of years, and I didn't realize what kind of power you had as a journalist until cases of wine started arriving. They said, you should try drinking some of this. I'm like, that's part of my job description? Okay, I want that, yeah.
I'll do it.
Count me in.
So what brought you to write this book here?
Well, I was doing that for a couple of years, and I started my own blog, and by then I was very familiar with New Mexico wines. When I started in '99, and I did the first Bernalillo Wine Festival, we all had to go through at least one of those in our life, right?
Yes.
And,
I don't really remember it very much.
Yeah, most people don't remember the event there. But anyway, I said, what's with all these sweet wines? And later when I was writing the book, I learned about this is how the winemakers survive here, because a lot of people do like the sweeter wines, and so they had to make those. Mm-hmm. But then I started finding, like I go up to Black Mesa, see Jerry Bird, and see some of his other wines. I say, Jerry, these are wonderful wines, but you also do Black Beauty. He says, that's my big seller. I said, okay, I got it. And I loved all, these are winemaker families. You get involved with them, and you just want to help them out. And I said, okay, this is going to be my first wine book. It's going to be about New Mexico wines of Enchantment. And that I got to go all through the state, and I toured all of these places. So the experience of it was part of why I enjoyed writing it anyway, was all the things I got to do. Lots, and lots. And that was the first version. And but then, thankfully, the wine industry here kept evolving and expanding and getting better and better. And I said, I have to write a new one, which is twice as thick as the first one, which is really good. So that's where this second edition came in last year.
Now, a lot of people don't know, and you write about this, New Mexico has been producing wine in this state successfully longer than any other state, including California.
That's right. Yeah, and that was one of the surprises I learned from it. They were doing it 130 years before California. Whoa.
Wow.
1629. And actually it was partly, the priest had set this up, it was going to be the sacramental wine, and it was partly self-defense because the wines had to come from Spain through Mexico,
right,
and before it finally got there, and I'm sure it didn't taste very good. So even though there was a Spanish Inquisition on, they said, we're going to make our own wine.
So the conquistadors brought vines from Spain over, is that what they did?
They brought those to Mexico, and at that time, they were allowed to make wine there, and then, of course, King Philip, his expenses with the Spanish Armada got to be really tedious, so he said, okay, I've got to do something about that, and so, no, you can't make any wine in New Mexico. Oh. So the priest actually smuggled the vines in to make it, and of course, right along the Rio Grande, a lot of the wineries are located along the Rio Grande for some obvious reasons. We're high desert here, and we need access to water.
Yeah, and there are so many lovely great wineries in New Mexico. So does your book include all of them, or is it just kind of limited to a few?
Well, I focused on the middle part of the book covers the wineries. And in fact, I do a 2-page spread on each of the wineries. I did 4-page spreads on Gruet and Southwest wines, obviously. And put a lot of bullets in there just so they could quickly look and say, okay, here's all I need to know about it, and descriptions. But part of it's also the wine basics, because a lot of people are not that familiar with, and a lot of people don't realize is just having some basics on wine can enhance your enjoyment of wine dramatically. And that's one of my missions is to get everyone to enjoy just what this wonderful beverage is and how to enjoy it in a sane manner, let's say.
So here, let me tell you a fast story. So Jim and his wife Barbara invite Susan and I over to their home for dinner. And I go, the Southwestern wine guy has invited us to dinner. What wine do I take? We decided not to take one. We brought a plant. But he poured some amazing wine that night. I can't even remember what it was, not because we had too much, but I just can't remember. But you had some wonderful vintages that went with the food that you prepared.
Right.
And you don't have to go outside the state to really have a spectacular glass of wine.
No,
That's what I
or a
learned.
spectacular food to go along with it.
Yeah.
Which is, and you know, a lot of the winemakers, the wines do go well with the food. But there are always challenges, especially with the spicy cuisine we have here. And that was one of the things I worked with Jane Butel, the queen of Southwest cuisine.
Oh, yes.
So I would just pair the wines to the dishes that she made. And those are more challenging than some others. It's pretty easy to say, oh, I got lamb, oh, Pinot Noir.
Yeah.
But it's a little different and that's part of what I've enjoyed doing too, is the wine and food pairing. And I became a pretty good cook as a result.
Yeah.
So.
So earlier we were talking about this really fun cruise you're going on, and if I could go, I would go. It's just basically like a wine tour on a cruise.
Well, it is, and except you don't have to go from winery to winery. They come to you, which is better. But it's Holland America Cruise Line, and they're fabulous anyway. And it goes out of Fort Lauderdale on November 17th and comes back on the 24th. So we have 4 ports of call. Oh, it's right there. You can see the ship.
Yeah.
And so there's 5 winemakers on. So we're going to have Vino de Corazon. I don't know if you've ever been up to Santa Fe. They're located just off the plaza. A delightful place. And Black Mesa, again, will be there.
They're one of my
And the gunfighters, I forget the guy there, but he's from Sonoma. And so it's 5 of those, plus our own personal chef.
Oh.
And
Not
you
a
know,
bad deal.
we're part of the cruise. Okay, so there's a lot of other people who unfortunately are going to look in longingly at. Oh, look at all the fun these people are having. Serving wine and food. How come we can't do that? Because you didn't sign up for the winemakers cruise. That's why.
So are you actually making wine during this as well? Or how
No.
does that work?
That's you don't making wine at sea could be a really interesting process. Actually, drinking it is fine.
Yeah.
Making it, no. But the winemakers will be telling us about how they make wine,
Their experiences.
and their experiences with it. So you learn about. That's part of the romance of wine. Is where does it come from? Who makes it? Why did they make it? What's the history of the area? And all those are part of the romance of wine that I love.
Tell us a little bit about some of the personalities, the people that own some of the wineries in the state. They're real. I don't want to use the word characters, but they're very unique people.
Now, is this before or after
Characters
they drink
is
wine?
a good word. It's a good way to describe the character. Well, you have to be because it's a very demanding profession. This is 24/7. If you're going to be a winemaker and grape growing as well, because that's 2 separate functions, but a lot of times combined. You just better have a lot of passion. You better have a lot of patience, and you better be aware that in this state you're going to run into some nasty weather on occasion, and that's one of the challenges that they have. And that was one of the things that inspired me to do this was, look at these winemakers out here doing all this hard work and sometimes having hail damage and persisting and going right back at it again.
Yeah.
People need to recognize that they're out there and that they're making great wines in spite of that. And they are all characters. A lot of them are engineers. In fact, when I've interviewed a few of them, and I was talking to Keith Johnstone of Corrales Winery, and I said, so Keith, is it true that you have to be an engineer to actually make wine? Because that's just about the case. But the thing is that wine technology, which has probably advanced in the last 30 years more than the last 2,000, knowing chemistry and a lot of those things is a really important element of it.